All right. Hi, everyone. Frankie here. New West Reset. Hello. How's it going? Welcome back. Thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another one. Another live one, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live, episode 107. Today we're going to be watching a PBS broadcast from back in the late 90s there, eh? It's called Calgary Remembered. And it's some seniors, some old-timers-ish, sitting down in a studio for interviews, being interviewed as they reminisce about Calgary in post-WW2. Talking about, some of the local attractions and what was going on at the time, as well as a bit about the municipal electric streetcar system, the old trolley, the tram, if you will. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of kick back together and watch that. So, get your popcorn ready there, kids. So thanks for joining me here on this Sunday, March the 2nd, 2025, just after 5 p.m., just a smidge past 5 p.m. local time. It's mountain time. Because as always, we're coming at you live from southern Alberta here. Calgary, Alberta, up in Canada land there, eh, buddy? So thanks for winding down your weekend here with yours truly on this Sunday fun day. So as per usual, links below for, a link below to the video that we're going to be watching. But before I get ahead of myself, let's say hello to everybody in the chat, in the box. Jump in, say howdy. Let me know how you're doing. Martin's here. Good to see you, Martin. How you doing? Kathy Broughton in the box. Hello, hello. Chassis Nix is here as well. Hey, everybody, it's Tidal. Tidal's here. Hey, you. Did you know Tidal's here? Yeah, right here. No, right here. Good to see you, Tidal. Old World, Michigan. Howdy, howdy. Good to see you. Hippie Shake. Hiya, Hippie. How you doing? Phil Henry's here as well. Howdy, Phil. Babylon Fox, hello. Howdy, howdy. Hey, Wiley, how you doing? Howdy, neighbor. Wiley down in Montana. Channel 53 is here, everybody. Hello, hello. Thanks for shooting in. There he is. Your friend and mine. A friend of ours. A friend of mine. Friend of ours. There's Vaughn. Good to see you, Vaughn. Cousin Vinny. Vincent. How you doing, buddy? Cousin Vinny. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you. Because, you can't have the Frankie Fingers without the Cousin Vinny. And you can't have the Cousin Vinny without the Frankie Fingers over here, eh?
So now you know what I'm talking about with the whole New West Reset thing.
No.
What?
No.
What I said about Frankie Fingers.
Oh.
The Frankie Fingers and New West Reset are the same.
Wait, what?
Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it as always. Hiya, Sherry. Sherry Ives in the box. Hello, hello. Lost and Found History Rewritten. Good to see all of you. Thank you very, very much. If you haven't already, give a guy one of these. Just kind of helps to push a fella out into the thing. Thanks to everybody who's already liked and subscribed and all that good stuff. Hello to everybody on HooTubes and on the Bumble. The green fighting platform over there. As per usual, broadcasting simultaneously on YouTube and Rumble. So thank you to everybody for all your support. Hey, if you're watching this after the live, after the fact, good to see you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Angel Dreams is here. Hello, hello. Thanks for winding down your weekend here. So, yes, we're going to have a little watch party. Eh? Get your popcorn ready. Did I give you enough time there with all that babbling on? Rambling for the last 7 minutes? I got to say hi to everybody. I like to say hello. Anyway, speaking of a link below, which you can find the video that we're going to watch here together. But links below as well for BitChute, MeWe. That's my social media over there, eh? My email's down there too if you want to send a guy some show ideas or you got some photos or I don't know. You just want to say, how's it going there, bud? My location map is down there as well. Speaking of Cousin Vinny, that's his brainchild. You click on that link and it takes you to the goggle machine with the map. My little icon pops up and you click on that and it links you to the video. All the boots on the ground videos here in southern Alberta, from Edmonton to Pincher Creek. Of course, as mentioned, Rumble link below as well. And a guy's PayPal, if you want to send me off to get a manicure or, I don't know, I could pick up something at the donut shop, eh? Thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie Fox is here. Babble away. Channel 53 says I still make popcorn on the stove. Yeah, that's the way to do it, eh? With a little bit of hot oil in the bottom of a pot. You pop the lid on there and you just kind of jiggle it around so the kernels don't burn. Get that old-timey style popcorn. That's the good stuff. That way, if you know how to do it, that way you can do it over a campfire too there, eh, bud? Anyways, if you're not going to have soda pop, maybe have a wobbly pop with your popcorn. So the video is roughly an hour. So what we'll do is we'll just break it in half. We'll watch the first half, then we'll take a mid-show break. I'll give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek vintage footage, and then we'll come back and finish off the video presentation, the main feature. I don't know, something like that. How's that sound? Have a sip of my water here. It's beautiful outside. Windows open. We've got the Chinook winds blowing, the warm winds, so it's above 0 Celsius. But it's windy and it's dry. Speaking of popcorn, it's drier than a popcorn fart. That's dry. Trust me, it's real dry. Well, yeah, kind of. Sort of a heat wave. Yeah, today it went to plus 12 Celsius for a spell. Just a wee bit, for about an hour or so. But still, plus 12 Celsius is, mid 50s Fahrenheit. Not too bad. Sherry says popcorn fart is my new password. Yeah, you like that one, did you? I think I stole that one from my dad. I'm not going to lie. He's got a lot of those wacky, goofy expressions. Old timer talk, Anyway, so thanks for joining me here. Appreciate it as always. Quick, everybody. Hack Sherry Ives. That's right, Kathy Broaden in Kentucky. Hopefully everything's okay after some flooding down there in the bluegrass state for a spell. Hopefully everything's okay. Yeesh. Yikes. You need the moisture, but take it easy. Don't want all in one go. You're in trouble when you look out your back window and the old guy next door to you. The guy with the long beard is building a big boat, and you're like, that's cause for alarm. All good now. Good. Okay. Yeah, it can be rough. We had flood here a few years back, and yeah, it was pretty rough go. But sure as hell, they got her all cleaned up in time for the world famous Calgary exhibition and stampede, the rodeo, because you don't want to let down the million tourists that come through the gates of the stampede over the 10 days of the rodeo. Greatest outdoor show on earth, don't you know? With the cattle roping and the buck and bronco busting and the chuck wagon races and not to mention the midway and the food and the exhibitions. No. They gotta, if this had happened in, I don't know, after the stampede, I would have been like, yeah, we'll get her done, bud. But before the stampede, we've got to clean this up right quick. Them tourist bucks, Not to take away anything from the pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of volunteer spirit of Calgary when stuff like that happens. Same thing with wildfires and forest fires. Tornadoes, all the good stuff that you get up here in Canada land, Anyway, what do you say we get this thing rolling with this video? So again, this is from 1998. It was broadcast on PBS, an American broadcasting, public broadcasting. And in Alberta here, in southern Alberta, they would have broadcast the thing up from Spokane, I believe. Or maybe Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Spokane, Washington, or Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Anyways, depending where you were, right? But it was shot and produced, as far as I know, here in Calgary. And again, they're talking to Calgary old timers, not professional historians per se, just folks reminiscing. So yeah, let's quit blabbing about it. Get your popcorn or your wobbly pops. Let's get this thing rolling here. Of course, as per usual, if you let me know if you can hear it okay when it's rolling here.
There's a special place in Western Canada, a place where ranching and oil are big and the sky is bigger.
There you go. Well, yeah, right. Public broadcasting, government funded television. We have that up here too. It's called the CBC, government television, supposedly public television, right? Because the public tax dollars pays for it. Bullpucky. Yeah, there you go. That's right. Bullpucky. Exactly.
Oh, shit!
But I mean, again, these are, Calgary folks. These aren't actors or nothing like that. And it's not from that long ago. Again, it's post-World War II. So still, as per usual, take everything with a grain of salt. And again, this is, buyer beware.
A place where people wear a white Stetson and cowboy boots and a business suit in between. A place that represents the spirit of the West. Hi, my name is James Keelahan. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I was born here in Calgary, Alberta.
So you can hear that okay, I think, I hope. Sounds like it's coming in loud and clear. All right. I like how he paused there for a second. Hi, my name is whatever my name is. I forgot already. I'm a pause singer-songwriter.
And Calgary's been called one of the fastest growing cities in Canada. And as the sun rises on the city this morning, it's home to more than 750,000 people. Sometimes the pace
It's 1.5 million now. No, more than that, I think.
of life here is fast. It's a little bit like rock and roll. But for the next hour, I'd like you to take a waltz with me through the pages of Calgary's history to revisit some of the places and people that have made this such a special community.
At the fork of two rivers, near a wood palisade, neath the turquoise blue sky, while the sun slowly falls.
You'll have to forgive the music. It's pretty cheesy or corny, whatever you want to. It's a big blob of corn dipped in cheese and then rolled in cornmeal. Sounds awful, in other words.
I sat down on the bank in the cottonwood shade, watched the city reflected in the Bold River's wall. At the fork of two rivers in the late afternoon, the cottonwoods tremble and the golden leaves fall. I sat down on the bank, watched the rise of the moon as the leaves on the water did the Bold River waltz. Darling, I've got $1. Let's go downtown. There's a dance hall I know. There's a band of renown. Darling, let's go out waltzing. Take a spin on my arm. It's a cure for what ails you. Proof against harm.
Oh, there it is. This thing kind of takes center stage, kind of on and off throughout the documentary, the film, the video. I rode on that thing a couple of times. That's at the Heritage Park. I have a video of the girl who was the young lady, the girl. I'm pretty sure she was a teenager, to be honest with you. But anyways, she was the conductor, the driver. And she was kind of showing us how the thing worked and operated. It's pretty cool. Again, excuse the music. It's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, that's right. Cousin Vinny was with me. Cousin Vinny and I have been to Heritage Park a couple of times. And yeah, that place is great. And yeah, this thing was fun. I don't know. I just love the old tram, streetcar, trolley thing.
Man, it was the place in Calgary to go, to meet the girls, for instance.
Penley's was the place, and the music was wonderful, and the people were great. A lot of good memories there.
The Palace and the Flour Mill were the only two little bit high buildings downtown. And the first high-rise was Elberton House, and it's dwarfed now.
And it picked up a lot of speed. It was going through prairie grass to get out there in those days. And the thing whipped back and forth, and the motorman stood astride, and he was just like riding a horse.
People say, you probably play the guitar a lot better than you do on television. You're just playing that bad to no, it's as good as I can do it, folks. Sorry.
I just thought they were idiots. Like, how often do your parents stand at the bottom of the stairs looking proud as punch while you're running up and down the stairs with a sledgehammer?
There are two things in the world that everybody seems to be aware of from Canada, and that's the Calgary Stampede and the RCMP musical ride. Not bad for a bunch of cowboys.
As the leaves on the water did the
So again, this is a PBS broadcast from 1998. Calgary Remembered. Public broadcasting, fair use. Canadian content too there while we're at it there, eh, Bot? Cousin Vinny's saying, Frankie, you have to work at Heritage Park one day. Maybe when you hit 70, you'll be in their age range. That'd be kind of fun to work there part-time. I don't know how many days I'll last. You know, they'd be like, Frankie, we could need you into the office here for a sec. We got to talk about something there, eh, buddy? Some of the tourists and park visitors are concerned about some of the things you're saying in terms of the history here in southern Alberta and, you know, involving some of the technology that we have here in the park. Got to shut that down. Shut it down. Anyway, that'd be a fun job. Again, guy would have to bite his lip, I guess. Anyway, quit blabbing. Let's go.
What event put Calgary on the Canadian map? Was it the building of Fort Calgary in 1875?
The building of it. Okay. They built the fort. A bunch of cops came out here on horseback and just built the fort.
Was it the discovery of oil in Turner Valley in 1914?
Nope. Turner Valley's 30 miles away. It's not in Calgary at all. 30 miles back in the 1890s to 1910s on horse and buggy or horse and wagon is basically a day's ride. Half a day's ride. You know, a day to Turner Valley and back to Calgary.
Well, those who were around at the time will tell you it was neither of these events, and it didn't even happen in Calgary.
I was involved in the Great Train Trip to Toronto in 1948.
It was a football game in Toronto.
Oh, of course, football's what put Calgary on the map. Not the fort. Not the fort and the Mounties coming out here. Nope. Not finding oil up them there hills. No. It's a football game in the 40s.
1948 Grey Cup.
And on the Tuesday night, the train left the station in Calgary, headed for Toronto, 2,500 miles away. 3 nights and 2 days of travel. Or as Charles Dickens would say, 2,500 miles of making merry.
The Stampede Special was 14 cars long and carried 250 people, a dozen horses, a chuck wagon, and a 4-piece Western band. They were on their way to Toronto to root for the hometown boys, the Calgary Stampeders.
It was a notorious thing in Canadian football at that time because the East used to always win.
So this is the Canadian version, I guess, of the Super Bowl. It's the Canadian Football League, the CFL's Grey Cup. So it's the national championship final game.
And Calgary had never been to the national final. You can imagine the excitement in the city. There was only, I believe, about 70,000 people at that point, and we used to draw crowds of 15,000, so there was more than 20% of the city used to come to the games, and the rest of the city got caught up in it.
If enthusiasm among the rooters could win football championships, the Calgary Stampeders would already be possessors of the coveted Grey Cup. Calgary Herald, Wednesday, November 24th, 1948.
Reels and square dancers in the station and in the lobby of the Royal York Hotel had pop-eyed Easterners looking on in amazement. They thought the Calgary Stampede had moved to the shores of Lake Ontario. Calgary Herald, Friday, November 26, 1948.
The Stampeder Football Club was a scruffy bunch of kids with high hopes of being the best football team in Canada. Only an extreme optimist would have ever believed that they had a chance, but Calgary has always been full of extreme optimists. 20,000 people crowded into Varsity Stadium for the game. Top price admission was $2 a seat. Bill Pratt, was working for Red Dutton, president of the National Hockey League at the time.
Mr. Dutton said to me, Bill, you're going to be cold. And I said, oh, no, Mr. D, I'm not going to be cold. Lots of clothes on. Oh, yeah, you're going to be cold. Here, put this coat on. I remember a big black coat, quite long coat. He put it on my shoulders, and I pretty near went to the floor. There was 4 bottles of whiskey in the pockets. I was to be the bartender. Being a non-drinker is the best guy to have as a bartender. But one thing, I had the seat right on the 55-yard line in the 12th row. I remember very clearly. But I had to pass drinks in both directions. When the game was over, Mr. Dutton said to me, hey, kid, here's a list. Collect it for me, will you? And it was his bets for that game. $27,000.
No shady dealings going on early on in the CFL. Oh, that's fine. Everything's okay. Ridiculous. Yeah, $2 to watch the game, eh? Sure, it's pretty good. It's not bad.
The optimists had been right. The Calgary Stampeders had beaten the Ottawa Rough Riders 12-7.
Yes, the CFL were at a time there was 6 teams, and 2 of them were called the Rough Riders. The Ottawa Rough Riders and the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Once again, Canadian creativity shoots high in the sky like fireworks. Yeah, it's not a bad name as far as, pro team names go. The Stampeders, because of the Calgary Stampede Rodeo there. And the players, making their way down the gridiron there, trying to get that there touchdown. They're stampeding. They're like a bunch of stampeding bulls. See what I'm saying?
History had been made on a football field, and Calgary had stepped onto the Canadian stage.
We rode the train back with the fans, and for an 18-year-old boy, that was quite an experience. And there were things that went on I didn't believe. I couldn't. I can't really tell you a lot about them, but there was...
Well, you could tell us something. I mean, you brought it up. This guy's teasing us, everybody. He said, well, yeah, there was all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, I can't really say. But it was pretty wild, man. Okay, great. Thanks.
Drinking that I couldn't participate in or didn't participate in.
I screwed up. Sorry. I got crazy with the button clicking. Forgive me.
Partying and things that went on, and it was really a rocking train.
The 1948 Grey Cup victory party in Calgary was VE Day, New Year's Day, and Dominion Day, all rolled into one. John Clark was in the crowd that day.
So VE Day is Victory in Europe Day from WW2. Dominion Day is now Canada Day, eh? So basically a giant party, big parade, big celebration. It's Flat is here. Howdy, welcome. Thanks for shooting in. Team Heat in the box. How's she going there, bud? Oh, hey, guy. Just watching some Calgary members.
And remembers the bedlam in the streets when the Victoria Stamps came home.
PBS broadcast from 1998 about the booming city of Calgary here in southern Alberta in the post-WW2 and all the shenanigans going on.
Everybody went to meet them just like the ending of the war, really. And I was standing, I remember, right outside the station, and a friend of mine, Spud Murphy, who had more guts than a slaughterhouse, he put on a Homburg hat, and he was always right up on the stage with the big wheels, and he had no official capacity, but he was amazing. I was standing there, and I look up, and here's Spud there, so he said, John, and I took my hat off, and he took my picture, and all that crowd.
18-year-old Normie Kwong wore number 23 on the field that day. At first, Normie says his mother didn't approve of him playing such a rough sport.
She found out about football, how it was played, and some of the hitting that went on in it. So she didn't exactly encourage me. And in fact, my first year when I came home from practice, I used to have to take my gear and hide it in the garage, and come back in the house and have dinner. And she'd wonder why I smelled so bad all the time. So I had to give her an excuse that I used to run a lot.
The 1948 Grey Cup proved two things: that those barefoot boys on the prairie could play football, and more importantly, that the people of Calgary collectively could do anything they set their minds to.
Barefoot boys out in Calgary? Sheesh. Wow, way. It's kind of rough, isn't it? By the way, Normie Kwong lying, bold-faced lying to his mother. Shouldn't do that, Norm. Come on now, man. Lying to your mom. That's your mama, man. All right, who am I kidding? Who hasn't lied to their mom? Anyway.
And the rest of Canada now knew it. These Calgarians could never have imagined that this attitude would help them welcome the world and host the most successful Olympic Winter Games ever, exactly 40 years later. But that comes later in our story.
Yeah, good for them country bumpkins and wild Indians out there. Good for them getting their poop in a group, getting their shit together enough to win the national sports ball trophy cup thing. Guess we'll throw them some recognition. Gee, thanks.
It's a fun ride on a streetcar. I rode streetcars to high school all 4 years, and the old streetcars had a little section in the back called a smoker room, and I can remember I went into the smoker room there after somebody had smoked a cigar, and when I got to my destination at East Calgary High there, I was kind of woozy there from the cigar smoke.
That's a clever little pun. He went to East Calgary High, meaning East Calgary High School, and he got woozy from the cigar smoke in the smoking lounge of the trolley, tram, streetcar thing. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
The boys used to grab a ride on the back of the streetcar on the outside, and they kind of duck down so that the conductor couldn't see them. But and I do know that in the winter, right on our hill, the conductor would have to stop the streetcar and come out with sacks and put sacks underneath the wheels to get a little friction to get back up the hill again. But also in the streetcars, the back end was what they called the smoker, and anybody that smoked cigars, cigarettes, or pipes was allowed to go in there. And we thought that was really neat, but we weren't allowed in there.
Streetcars rumbled through the streets of Calgary for almost half of the 20th century. Few people had cars, and there were few city buses.
These shots there with the sandstone structures along the trolley line there. Sorry, I'm trying to... There we go. A lot of those buildings are still there. They're on Stephen Avenue, 8th Avenue Southwest downtown. I did a meetup and mudflood walkabout. Actually, Cousin Vinny was with me. And yeah, a lot of those places are still there. So yeah, that mudflood tour of Stephen Avenue is on the channel as well, if you want to check that out. It's pretty cool. Beautiful, beautiful buildings. Unfortunately, the one in the foreground of the left side of the image there, I believe it was the Mackenzie block, that's no longer there. Or the McDonald block, something like that. Something Scottish. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure it was Scottish of some kind. Anyway, getting back to it here.
People had cars, and there were few city buses. If it was too far to walk, most people either rode a bicycle or took a streetcar to where they needed to go.
I remember many things about streetcars.
particularly on the run to Bowness when they cranked the speed up a little bit. I was amazed at the amount of play in the windows. The streetcars would sway sideways and back and forth, and the glass would go many directions without cracking or splitting. They had a remarkable tolerance for sway.
Yeah, we can attest to that too, eh, Vinny? They had a sense of flex to them as it's clickety-clacked along the track, right? It wasn't a big lumbering, steel box. It felt like it sort of danced along the rails and it sort of flexed. It wasn't necessarily jostling. It was just kind of a swaying, flexing motion.
I also remember, I think the fine was $50 fine for spitting, which was ignored in the back smoker section of the streetcar.
The first streetcar rattled through the streets of Calgary on July 5th, 1909, the same year that Calgary's first skyscraper, the Grain Exchange, was built. All 6 stories of it. Both were signs that Calgary had become a real modern city.
We used to see the streetcar going by, and we would put our hand on the thing and get towed on a bike. But if you didn't have your bike, it would have even better. We'd hang on to the bars across the back window and sort of a ledge out there and sort of crouch like that and hang up. And when you got to your stop, if he wasn't stopping, we would pull the cord that held the thing on the electrical wire. And then it would stop, and we'd run like the very dickens, and the old guy'd have to come out and pull it down and maneuver it on again, and the air would be blue for about 4 blocks around.
These young scamps, they just jump on the back and hitch a ride. And if it wasn't stopping where they wanted them to stop, they'd pull the arm off of the electrified cable above, the overhead cable. And then, of course, the train would just stop. Bunch of scamps.
In the old days, when things were really tough, I remember somebody discovered that you could take one of those little streetcar tickets and take a razor blade and part it. And you could really make 2 streetcar tickets out of one by when you boarded the streetcar. I never did this, but...
Oh no, you never did that. It's my buddy. My buddy knows a guy who did it. That's who did it. I didn't do it. But meanwhile, he's about to go into detail now of how to do it.
Others did. Put the printed side of the ticket toward the conductor and drop it in the box. And if the other side of the ticket, of course, was where it had been split and there was no printing, and the other half of the ticket was good for another day.
Electric streetcars served Calgary faithfully for 41 years, the last one retiring on December 29th, 1950. There is one surviving original streetcar from the Calgary Municipal Railway, the one that made that last run. Car number 14 now makes the run from the lower parking lot to the upper parking lot at Heritage Park regularly. Here are the hand straps that steadied Calgary commuters all those years ago. And while it hasn't been enforced in a number of years, there's still a posted $50 fine for spitting.
I wasn't going to test that to see if they were going to enforce it when I was on it. I mean, $50 is $50. I don't want to... Pretty steep, by the way, for the 40s and 50s, isn't it? $50. It's pretty steep, right? Like, they really don't want you spitting. You bunch of hicks. You bunch of Jethro Bodines here on this here fancy train now. Quit spitting.
A replica streetcar, number 15, also serves the Heritage Park route. Whatever car you ride, it's still a marvelous trip back in time. Perhaps the most popular destination to ride a Calgary streetcar was to the end of the line, up the valley west of town, to the deluxe suburb of Bowness.
So this was the year, but what you're fixing to see here is now Western Canadian hospitality and Western Canadian quote-unquote outdoorsy cowboy type trolley park. You know, out east and in the fancy big cities, sure, they had the electric trolley parks just like they did in the United States and I think other parts of the world too. Didn't parts of the UK have trolley parks? These sort of electrified amusement parks that would encourage people to use the municipal tram or trolley service on weekends. You take it out to the end of the line, and there was a big amusement park with refreshments, snacks, and this is the Canadian version, eh?
Advertised as the ideal spot to build a home in the most sought-after residential area of Calgary. The visionary behind the project was John Hextall, who spent $55,000 on an iron bridge to provide access to the property. The bridge helped, but Hextall still needed to attract more people to his development if he wanted to sell all the lots. So, in 1912, Hextall made the city of Calgary a proposition. He would donate 2 islands in the middle of the Bow River as a city park if the city would run a street railway line to Bowness. The city agreed, and streetcars began running that summer to a lovely oasis at the end of the line called Bowness Park.
And it picked up a lot of speed. It was going through prairie grass to get out there in those days. And the thing whipped back and forth, and the motorman stood astride, and he was just like riding a horse.
You see, it was not a rickety thing. It was a bit of a dance on those old trolley, tram, streetcar things. Know what I'm saying? Smooth, not rickety, smooth. At least in my experience. And it doesn't get to the speed that he's talking about. You know, he's talking about getting up to, 50. Once it gets on those flat straightaways outside of the city limits, Sooner West, howdy, howdy. Welcome. See a Bowness Park out in a oot in a boat, way out in the sticks. This guy had a bunch of land there and was trying to sell it as a new suburb or subdevelopment. But meanwhile, it's, forested area with the river, and it's kind of nice. So he makes a deal with the city. I'll donate these islands here that are part of my property somehow, even though they're islands in the river. So I'm not sure how that worked. Or in a lagoon. He had a lagoon or something. And in turn, the city extend the tram line or the streetcar line out to Bowness Park.
It was quite an experience. If you get back in the smoker or someplace back there, the hind end was whipping around, and they were great fun.
Well, it was a treat just to go to Bowness Park and buy an ice cream cone there.
Paul Dufoux is one of the many Calgarians who remembers that half the fun of going to Bowness Park was getting there.
Bowness Park was the park that was quite a distance away, and the only way that you could get there was by streetcar. And I remember you had to pay 2 tickets. One ticket to get to Shoaldice Park, which is part way, and then another ticket to get to Bowness Park.
Cousin Vincent in the box saying, Bowness doesn't appear to have been one of those super fancy trolley parks, though. No. Yes and no. It had an amusement park with a refreshment stand and snacks and food and all that. But most aspects of the activities were not big electrified amusements and whatnot. It was more canoeing or paddle boats on the lagoon. There were cabins where you could stay the weekend, or people could spend a week there, even camping in these cabins, that sort of thing. I think they had horseback riding, like real Canadiana Western style type of trolley park.
There was a feeling of freedom.
I think they get into it a little bit more detail here. I don't want to let too much the cat out of the bag, because they expand on that a little bit here.
Because you could walk all kinds of paths, you could sit and just watch the fountain. And in the evening, the colors, they had lights, I guess, to make the fountain light up. There was a smell of, I think, no, I'm not sure that it was hamburgers, but there was maybe a Coney Island type smell about it, because you could buy ice cream and things like that there. And of course the sounds were children laughing, playing, and the merry-go-round.
Perhaps the most unique.
See, so there was a midway with some rides, a carousel and a few other rides, concessions and hot dogs and, root beer and whatever other stuff, maybe a malted milk, I don't know, whatever, and ice cream and all that sort of thing. But I think the focus was more on, you could see people canoeing and swimming and that sort of thing. Old World Mi'kmaq in the box. Quay Nida, good to see you. Hello, hello. Welcome.
The unique feature of Bowness Park was the lagoon, a backwater of the Bow River, where a fountain lit by colored lights caused a rainbow-colored mist to dance through the air.
And people could canoe. Prue remembers that because I ran her into the fountain one day. I think
talking,
trying to show off as a young swain.
Well, no, we were just, there were four of us in the canoe, I think, and we just were talking so much that we, and it just rode right into, or paddled right into it, and got quite soaked. I've never let him live it down.
Little light dusting of water.
No.
In the middle of the lagoon, there was a building that was almost like an enclosed gazebo. And certainly on weekends and probably on summer afternoons, they played concert music, a series of recordings for maybe 2 hours. And you always knew when it was about to start, because whoever spun the turntables was rowing his way over to the gazebo. And the music came, as I recall, they called it an orthophonic.
That's interesting, Vinny. Cousin Vinny in the box says there was a sanatorium across the river from there. We walked around the grounds a couple of years ago. No buildings remain. And by we, I'm assuming Mrs. Cousin Vinny? See, I did not know that. I know that the second Calgary General Hospital had first a separate ward and then eventually a separate building that was a sanatorium. But I didn't realize there was one way out in Bowness. Because again, back in the day, sticks. Even that one dude said, until the trolley or the tram went out there, there was really no way, there were no roads going out there. Except for the one road where the guy out of pocket, the landowner, built a bridge. But if you didn't have a car, if you're a teenager and you want to hang out with your friends and go swimming and meet girls or take a date out there on a Saturday night and you don't have a car, you got to take the tram.
And it was pretty pleasant to be sitting out there on the banks of the lagoon and listening to nice music and no advertisements. Nice way to spend an afternoon.
John Hextall never lived to see his dream of creating a special place for his fellow Calgarians come true. When World War I broke out in 1914, he took off to join the fighting in Europe, and he never came home. Bowness, the ideal spot to build a home, was annexed into the city of Calgary in 1964. The iron bridge Hextall built to bring people to Bowness still exists at Shoaldice, and Bowness Park is still there too.
So the bridge, the bridge no longer serves traffic of any kind, but that was the bridge to get to Bowness by vehicle or by tram. there was a right-of-way. The tram had the right-of-way, obviously. So the trolley would use the bridge, and, you know, if you had a car or even a horse or horse and buggy, you would use the same bridge. Now it's still there, but now it's just pedestrian and bicycle path only. And they built a new bridge right beside it. So I guess it's kind of cool that they kept the old bridge rather than yanking it out of there. I was talking to Vaughn a couple of nights ago on a chat, and I was saying that that's kind of another thing they seem to like to do is yank out these old iron truss or even steel bridges. You know, they say, oh, they're unsafe or whatever, and yada, yada. Meanwhile, they're made out of the same stuff that the guts of a lot of old world buildings that are still standing and are perfectly safe and fine are made out of. Anyways, it's a beautiful example of an old bridge.
Walk across the middle of the blacktop area near the Park Cafe, and you can see the outline of where the bandstand used to be. Walk through the grass on the edge of the amusement area, and you can see where the youngsters used to buy their tickets and ride the carousel.
Yeah, see, the park basically died or half died. It's limping along. It still has, you know, it's a nature park too, right? So there's just walking paths and picnic areas and day use picnic areas. You can't camp there overnight anymore. But when they shut down the trolley or the tram, what happened was this amusement park destination aspect of the park died with it, or were shut down with it. You could still take a canoe on the lagoon, but the fountain is gone, the music is gone, the grandstand or the bandstand is gone, the rides are gone.
Gaze across the lagoon, and you can see where the orthophonic used to play classical music throughout the park. The swimming pool has been filled in, but you can still walk the grounds of the old park where cattle used to graze. The miniature railroad that was installed in 1953 still runs through the park today, and good memories continue to be made at a special place called Bowness Park.
That, at least to my knowledge, is true. The miniature train still runs. At least last time I was at Bowness Park. Mind you, that was, sheesh, I'm almost ashamed to say 8-10 years ago, something like that. So yeah, Vinny, we should go and check it out. Do a little boots on the ground exploring around there. Because there's certainly aspects, of the park that have not changed much. And then what has changed has just been removing stuff, not necessarily adding a lot of new stuff per se, aside from some of the picnic tables and whatnot.
It is still possible to ride the Bowness Carousel, too, but you have to do that in Heritage Park, where the old merry-go-round was moved in 1985.
So again, as a quick interruption, those visits that cousin Vinny and I took to Heritage Park here in Calgary, which is basically a 1900s-ish prairie town set up as a living museum and amusement park, and it shows you what life was like back around 1900-ish, in a prairie Canadian town. And the old steam train is there, and the train museum is there, and he's grabbed a bunch of boots on the ground footage for that, so that's on the channel as well. And I think I do have footage of this carousel, because there's an old-timey amusement park section of Heritage Park itself. Because again, it's set up like a town. There's a hotel, a saloon, a couple of churches, old houses, and you can walk around them and in some of them. And there's people that work there that dress in period outfits and sort of are in semi-character. They're sort of act old-timey, but also act as a guide to what life was like. Anyways, it's very interesting.
I still go on the merry-go-round out at Heritage Park when I get there. It's it's just something that kids do. You know, you pick your horse, whether it's white or brown or black. I never liked to sit on the benches. I always liked to ride the horse. So, but it was great. I really liked it.
Calgary has always been a city of confidence, but no other city can claim to have the greatest outdoor show on earth and mean it. Every July, Calgary becomes the Stampede, and the Stampede becomes Calgary. 10 days of rope and leather, sweat and dust, and a whole lot of fun.
You know, the Calgary Stampede is something that, if you describe the parts of it individually, you'd never get the idea. It's something that you have to participate in. It's kind of like Mardi Gras in New Orleans, or Carnival in Rio, or Venice, or some of these places, where you come to something and the heart of the city starts to beat, the spirit comes alive, and truly the essence of what it is to be in Calgary manifests itself.
The first popular Western pageant was Buffalo Bill and his Wild West show around the turn of the century. It was from the success of shows like this that a trick roper from New York got the idea to hold a Wild West show of his own. He would hold it in a city celebrated for its Western spirit, not in the United States, but in Canada. Guy Wiedeck had been through Canada on a traveling Wild West show in 1908 and returned to Calgary in 1912 to stage a one-time show as part of the Calgary exhibition to mark the passing of the Old West.
So that Calgary exhibition actually was part of the Dominion exhibitions. Canada is the Dominion of Canada under rule of the Crown at that time, still part of the British Commonwealth. And prior to WW1, Canada hosted, depending on what year, what city would host, sort of Canada's version of these World's Fairs that were, you know, being hosted in London, Paris, St. Louis, San Francisco, so on and so forth. We're all familiar with these fairs or expositions. And the one in Calgary was Calgary's turn that year to host the Canadian version of these fairs or exhibitions. And they did sort of a Western cowboy theme because Calgary already was steeped or rubber stamped, as I like to say, very heavily in the narrative of Wild West and cowboys and rodeo and cattle ranches and wild Indians and buffalo and all of that.
The idea started as a Frontiers Day celebration, but would later be called the Stampede. It was advertised as the best dad-burned show in the world, and Wiedeck boasted it would make Buffalo Bill's Wild West extravaganza look like a sideshow. Many of the events we enjoy at the Stampede today got their start at the very first Stampede.
There's two events that really go back to the beginning of rodeo, or back deep into our heritage, one being saddle bronc riding, and that actually came from ranches or ranch cowboys. Of course, breaking horses to ride probably, since there were people and horses. The other event that is similar to whenever people started working with horses and cattle is roping. So probably the calf roping and saddle bronc riding are the two events historically that trace back to the beginning of horses and cattle.
So there you have it. Howdy, Morgan. Morgan is here. Isabella Live 2.0. Welcome. Thanks for shooting in there, bud.
The first Stampede was a lot of fun, but a financial disappointment. Later, Wiedeck returned to Calgary with the idea of holding a victory stampede to celebrate the end of World War I.
I don't know why this guy kept coming back to Calgary of all cities, right? Oh, it went bust the last time I did it, but I'll try her again in this, what do they call, barefoot hick town of hillbillies.
The event was a popular success, but again, a financial disappointment.
See? Just like a lot of the World Fairs by coincidence.
Partly because many spectators who felt the admission cost was too high climbed a nearby hill where they could watch the show for free, the hill we call Scotchman's Hill today. The Stampede was shelved again until 1923, and it's been a Calgary tradition ever since. The 1923 Calgary Stampede set the pattern for everything that came after. It was the first year of the Rangeland Derby, the chuck wagon races that have become the Stampede's signature event. The chuck wagon breakfast got its start in 1923, as did the Stampede Parade. And
now, I don't want to sound like I'm making fun here, because I'll be the first to admit that I enjoy the Calgary Stampede. Now, I'm kind of partial. I live here in Calgary. I'm an Albertan. But for those of you that don't know, I was born in Montreal, Quebec. In the first 10 years of a fella's life, I was living out there in Quebec, you see. But from Jump Street, from day one, right out of the gates, as we say, I was a fan of the Calgary Stampede. Because, you know, all the cowboy stuff, all the cowboys and Indians stuff. You know, chuck wagon races? Come on, man. Really? Get these guys with teams of horses racing around a dirt track, pulling chuck wagons? Get the hell out of here. I got to see this. You know, stuff like that.
it was the first year all Calgary was encouraged to go western. What would Guy Wiedek think of the Stampede if he could see it now?
I don't think he'd believe it. Even a man like him who is very optimistic, I don't think he really would have believed what he created. Because I think it's grown beyond most people's wildest expectations. I mean, 1 million people coming to the Stampede. And of course, Calgary was, what, in those days, I said 30 or 40,000 people. But they had good attendances in those days. But to actually exceed 1 million people and to pay prize money in excess of $1 million, I think that would be beyond his wildest expectations.
From the very beginning, despite opposition, Wiedek invited and encouraged natives to participate in the Stampede. He wanted it to be a show for cowboys and Indians, and for Indians who were cowboys. Gordon Crowchild rode his first Stampede when he was just a teenager, back in the 1940s. Now approaching age 70, he still rides in the Stampede. Gordon says he tried a desk job for a while, but it wasn't for him.
It was boring.
Guy goes from being a rodeo athlete, basically, and he tried a desk job. That just wasn't for him. Yeah, no shit. You don't say. Really? I'm shocked.
For me, like, I didn't enjoy that life because I see people ride to the office down here, horseback, and I wanted to do that. I mean, I'd ride to work too some days, and some days my dad would drive me on his old car to work. But I lasted 1 year, and then I gave that up, offered to be a cowboy. And I thought, I'll be a cowboy all my life until the day I die. And when I die, I told my wife, just bury me the way you see me today, sitting here or wherever. Don't buy me a new hat or new boots because I'm gone. I just want to be remembered to what I am today.
Gordon's father was the late David Crowchild, the last lifetime chief of the Tsuut'ina Nation. The route he traveled from
That's the Blackfoot Nation, by the way.
The reserve into town is now a paved expressway that was named for him in 1966, Crowchild Trail.
In the United States, it's the Blackfeet Confederacy, but in Canada, we call them Blackfoot. Even though they still have both feet, but I'm not really sure what's going on with that there. Anyway.
One of the youngest traditions of the Stampede is now 30 years old. The young Canadians of the Calgary Stampede are the life of the party at the grandstand show. Grandstand producer Randy Avery thought up the young Canadians as a way to bring life to the final act of the 1968 show. Tom Owens was in the group.
The thing that I remember most is that through the 6 months or 7 months of rehearsal before the show, we had worked with just a piano.
Wait, really? It's flat sing Blackfoot in Idaho. Oh, okay. Well, my mistake then. I know in Montana. In Montana, it's Blackfeet. Well, this has changed, but as far as I know. So I just found that odd because of it's the same nation. Anyway.
player. We didn't even have what we call a click track now, which sets the pace, sets the rhythm so that you can choreograph and whatnot. We had a piano player. So here we go into our dress rehearsal on stage with a full orchestra. I mean, your feeling is that little old us. We have like a 20-piece orchestra or whatever it was. It felt like a million with all the brass and all the sounds coming out. And that was the most exciting part for me.
Bill Avery is proud to continue the entertainment tradition his father started more than 30 years ago.
It's about learning skills, about learning abilities. It's about opening your heart up to people and having the people open up their hearts.
That high-pitched screeching that you might be hearing? First of all, it's nice outside, so guys' windows open, eh? But that was the train coming to a stop about 100 yards away from where I live is the train tracks. So if you were hearing that and it was distracting, sorry about that. Oh, crap, I done did it again. Sorry.
So on stage with a full orchestra.
Close enough.
Your feeling is that little old us. We have like a 20-piece orchestra or whatever it was. It felt like a million with all the brass and all the sounds coming out. And that was the most exciting part for me.
Bill Avery is proud to continue the entertainment tradition his father started more than 30 years ago.
It's about learning skills, about learning abilities. It's about opening your heart up to people and having the people open up their hearts to them. And people come out of our show saying, I'd forgotten that it can be like that. And it really can, and it really is, and it's a wonderful thing. You know, there's an old song, you know, I love those dear hearts and gentle people that live in my hometown. And that really sort of says it all. I mean, they're dear hearts, they're gentle people. Great performers, it's a wonderful evening, and, you know, it culminates in a huge blast of fireworks, and everybody comes out of there saying, well, that was something.
All right, so I think what we're going to do here is take a bit of a break, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek vintage footage. As per usual, every Wednesday, you're going to be getting one of these, some old-timey footage set to music, usually Canadian content in some respect or another. This one's Niagara Falls from the 1930s, I believe. If you're new to the channel, every Sunday, get the live show like right now. Every Wednesday, vintage footage, and every Friday, boots on the ground. So in the live show, I always give you a little preview, a sneak peek. So yeah, let's do that right quick here. Again, this is Niagara Falls, 1939, about 2.5 minutes long. And then when we come back, we will continue this Calgary Remembered from a PBS broadcast from 1998. So stick around. We'll see you on the other side of about 2.5 minutes. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot. Cheers. All right, and we are back. Welcome back. Howdy, everybody. Frankie here. New West Reset. New West Reset Live, episode 107. Calgary Remembered. Having a little watch party here, watching a PBS broadcast from 1998 about Calgary, Alberta, up in Canada land, eh? So thanks for joining me. Thanks for winding down your weekend on this Sunday, March 2nd. It's March already, man. I can't believe it. Sunday, March 2nd, 2025. About 6:15 p.m. local time. So again, thank you very much for joining me here on the Sunday Fun Day. So when last we left the video, they were talking about the Calgary Stampede and its origins, and you know how it is basically up to today. And it's a big hullabaloo around these here parts. And they always end the show off with a big the Young Canadians sort of stage show, you know, song and dance number routine, and the big fireworks stuff. So, yeah, let's see where we're at here now. What's going on? What's what? Whoopsies. There we go. All right.
When Calgary incorporated as a city in 1894, the population was about 4,000. During the boom years of the 1970s, nearly that many people a month moved to town. Much of what was old about Calgary was destroyed during that time. But one of the places that survived was the Palliser Hotel, which opened in 1914.
I did boots on the ground of this beautiful railroad hotel. That's right. The Choo Choo Train Company built these luxurious castle-like old world-looking hotels. They even slip in a couple of construction photos, I guess, in the vanilla skied photo here. So there's that.
It was the place to meet in Calgary, bar none. You know, like they had the Friday night supper dances, and you really had to, you know, you had to dress up. There was no question about it. A real good suit and dark suit, and very decorous. And the girls nearly all wore long dresses. Mm-hmm. So it was a rare occasion to go there. It really was. And
New Year's.
Yeah, New Year's and things like that. And you'd have to book ahead a long way because there weren't that many places to go. But the Palliser was, the lobby was so beautiful too, and the meat in there, it was sort of took you and they thought you were real posh, you know, for a while.
Clam chowder and their own made French bread. That was, everybody knew the Palliser clam chowder. I don't know whether you could even get it any other place. I never ate any other place, and I've eaten it many places since. But often I'd go there and with friends, and we'd just have a good-sized bowl of clam chowder and Palliser French bread.
The Palliser Hotel is everything that is grand about Old Calgary. Harry Sanders knows her story better than anyone else I know. We walked through the old hotel together recently and talked about what has happened between these walls.
Since the day the hotel opened in 1914, every distinguished person who's ever come through Calgary has either been entertained here or has stayed here overnight, ranging from royalty to politicians to celebrities. We've had, everyone from the Prince of Wales, King Edward VIII, here to much more recently Queen Elizabeth II. We've had Mikhail Gorbachev here. At least one Prime Minister of Canada has lived in the hotel.
That was R.B. Bennett?
Yes, he lived here through the 1930s. Sent a box of chocolates to every staff member every Christmas.
And we're now in the penthouse of the Palliser Hotel.
Oh, bless him. A box of chocolates to every staff member of the hotel every Christmas. Great. Of course, he's the Prime Minister of Canada, meaning, our version of the president. So I guess the Canadian taxpayer paid for all them chocolates.
But this room itself wasn't actually on the hotel when it was originally constructed.
No, the hotel was 4 floors shorter than it is now when it first opened in the summer of 1914. So again, before this penthouse was built, there was a sunroom that had the same kind of function as this, 4 floors beneath us that was eliminated when this new penthouse opened in the summer of 1929.
Would this have been the tallest building in town?
It was. It was the tallest when it was built, and it again became the tallest when they added on in 1929.
Get a load of this guy, by the way, right? Wow, that's a great look there with the perm and the round glasses and the double extra large cardigan, sweater, button up jumper, whatever you want to call it. A size triple extra large on a size medium body. It's a great look. Oh, the 90s.
And it was a favorite place for camera enthusiasts, it was said, because from the roof here, they could get a commanding view of the skyline, of the Rocky Mountains on a good day.
The interiors of that place, eh? Yeah, you know what? A guy should go back there, and I should just maybe talk to a fella and say, look, I'd like to just shoot some video in here. I'm not going to get in anybody's way. I'm not even really going to say anything. I'm just going to come in, quietly pace about, have a look around, and skedaddle and see how that flies with the man, or the lady.
And it was a place where they could Kodak to their heart's content.
Kodak being a verb.
That was the verb.
And we're down in the lobby of the Palliser Hotel now, and in front of the Crystal Ballroom. Now, I've played in this room with my band, but when we played, we were always set up inside the room. That wasn't always the way it worked.
No,
It's pretty fancy in there, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd see it. We'll see the railroad hired Donkeys R Us and Wagons Incorporated.
The hotel opened, and for many years after that, the band would have been out in the on this balcony.
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, well, see what a fella can do, buddy. Buddy will go in there and be polite, eh? Typical polite Canadian there, eh? By the way, howdy, PCS World in the box. Thanks for shooting in there, bud. Good to see you.
Just on the outside of the ballroom, facing the lobby. So they would have played from up there. You could hear the band from the Crystal Ballroom and also from the lobby. And this corner of the lobby actually became expansion space, overflow space for the big supper dances that they used to have. So if they needed extra space, people are out here in the lobby.
And so there were some regular bands that actually played in this room.
That's right, and in the 1920s, the house band, Jerry Fuller's orchestra, used to get a national radio broadcast out of here on a weekly basis from the Palliser Hotel, heard across Canada.
Shout out to Jerry Fuller's orchestra for the national broadcast of the swing music, I'm guessing, in the 20s. Nice. Maybe even Western swing, considering, the fancy cowboys that are living here in Calgary and partying in this here hotel, I guess.
The Palliser remains what she was when new, an oasis on the plains, which still serves the best French bread and clam chowder in town.
The Western nest and you, dear.
The West, a nest, and you was the theme song of the Mart Kenny Orchestra. In the big band era, this song was the anthem of a generation of young Calgarians who would be tempered with a depression and a world war. Big band dances were a way to escape the troubles of the world in those years, and for an evening at least, be carefree. Two places in particular were famous for hosting big band dances: the Palliser Hotel and Penley's.
My father started a dancing school and a dancing ballroom about 1912. From 1912 right through the 20s and 30s, teens, 20s and 30s, 40s, they were the ballroom days when people went to dances just to dance. Great big floors and seats around on the perimeter against the wall, but no tables or anything like that. It was pure dancing.
Yeah, no wallflowers, huh? We don't want people sitting around rubbernecking. We want people lollygagging around. We want you up and cutting a rug or whatever, shaking a leg. Fancy. I'm telling you, us cowboys are just as fancy as anybody else now. Get a look at this.
Ken's parents, Jack and Juanita Penley, built Penley's Dancing Academy into a Calgary legend. Each had the reputation of being a superb dancer, and together they had the reputation of running a business held in the highest esteem for generations.
The dances started about 9 o'clock. The orchestra got there a little earlier to tune up, get ready. And the dances seemed to, well, they ran in sets of 3 musical pieces was a dance set. And then you could change partners or whatever. There was a fast foxtrot, then a slow foxtrot, and then a waltz. It went on like this. Every third dance right through the evening up to number 18 was a waltz. At the end of the 9th, there was an intermission. It started up again. You could go with your date as a couple or go singly and meet a partner there. And it was just a great time for dancing.
The traditions of those big band days are kept alive in many places throughout Calgary today. These are the Bow Cliff Seniors. Pick a couple off the dance floor here and ask them where they met, and many will say, "We met at Penley's."
New Year's Eve 1933, Dad had Mark Kenny's orchestra, Mark Kenny and his Western Gentlemen, which was one of the finest. He served a hot turkey dinner.
Mark Kenny and his Western Swingers? Okay, so yeah, or Western whatever. Okay, so it was Western Swing. So they were playing sort of the precursor to what I guess today you'd call modern country music. But back then it was kind of a jazzier, swingier style of music.
Provided hats, noisemakers, balloons, $1.50 a couple.
Get out of here. $1.50 a couple got you a New Year's Eve party with a hot turkey dinner, dancing, hats, noisemakers. Could you imagine? Yeah, a totally different kind of swinger, Sherry. Okay, you got me. you got me. Got me pretty good on that one. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, $1.50 a couple. Come on. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, there couldn't have been anything better.
Penley's Dancing Academy closed in 1964. On the site today is the new Toronto Dominion Square. On the second floor, where the dance floor used to be, is a plaque dedicated to the Penleys. It says, "Dance me to the end of time," as many husbands and wives still say to each other every time they hear this tune.
I was a member of the first all-Chinese hockey team.
Paul Dufoux remembers growing up in Calgary as the first generation from the East to be born in the West.
We practically lived on skates in the wintertime. We had a small-size rink and all learned to be fairly good stick handlers.
Ice skating, whether for hockey or recreation, has been a Calgary pastime for generations. The Baxter family started one of Calgary's first public skating rinks around the turn of the century. In the winter, it was the Crystal Rink. In the summer, it was the Crystal Pool. Everyone just called it the Crystal.
My father always told me it was 85,000 and a gallon of water in the swimming pool for every citizen of Calgary.
The Crystal was on the edge of downtown at 4th Avenue and 9th Street. A graceful lady on a tin sign beckoned to young and old alike. In summer and winter, Calgarians flocked to the Crystal by the hundreds.
Oh, man, it was the place in Calgary to go, yeah. To meet the girls, for instance. And, oh yes, that's for sure, yes. 300 or 400 people.
It's like the third or fourth time that some gray-haired old horn dog is talking about how you go down there to meet the girls. Sheesh. I guess, well, it was a small boom town back then, so we had to beef up the population, I guess, somehow. I don't know.
On Sunday, maybe.
Wait, what? Morgan, Isabella Live 2.0 saying War of the Worlds radio program was put on from a New Year's Eve band night in Canada? Really? No. Really? Never heard that. Did I know that? I don't think I knew that.
Anymore. At quitting time, they'd go around and sweep the edges with brooms and sweep the edges out about, even just a foot, a couple of feet. And then hand scrape it, around into windrows. And, of course, in the old days, we had the horses, to scrape the rake, and a great big scraper that the horse would pull, and two guys would walk beside with scrapers to hold the snow from going off the edges,
The Crystal Pool closed in 1962, the rink in 1964. What was left turned to ashes 2 years later.
Oh, you mean there was a fire, and now it's a parking lot. Ah, great. No, sure, that's normal.
But what was here lives in the memories of everyone who enjoyed skating and swimming at the Crystal.
Cheese, look at that.
Cheese, 2.5 packages for 27 cents.
Orange marmalade, 15 cents for a 12-ounce bottle of orange marmalade.
That's wonderful.
That's terrific.
Look at it. Well, I guess we'll never see those days again, will we?
John and Betty Clark remember a simpler, smaller Calgary, when cars had running boards, where doors were left unlocked and a hot lunch was 30 cents. Betty remembers parking her baby buggy on the sidewalk and going in to buy groceries at a store called Jenkins Grosseteria, the first self-serve grocery store in Canada.
And of course,
first self-serve grocery store in Canada was in Cowboy Land, Calgary? Cowtown? Calgary's nickname is Cowtown, by the way, if you didn't know. Cowtown. A lot of weird firsts here. Strange.
to me, it was pretty special because I'd been used to rationing all those war years. So it was wonderful to be able to buy whatever you wanted. So I bought lots and sent it back to... We spent a lot of money just sending parcels back to England because it was so lovely to see all these things that we hadn't seen and knew that they would be so thrilled to get things like that, you know, because they still weren't getting them then, even in 1946.
During the Depression and war years, theaters were a great escape in Calgary. At their peak, there were more than a dozen in town. Ken Penley can name them all.
Starting at the east end of 8th Avenue, there was the Variety, then the Empress, and the Strand.
Those three are gone.
And then two of the bigger ones were the Palace and the Capitol.
Palace is there. Capitol is gone.
They're very, very central. First Street West had the Grand, and
the Grand is still there.
The Isis.
Isis is gone. Seeing a pattern here?
Which was a bit south of the downtown area. Grand had been a vaudeville theater for many years, but they went to movies. Then in the neighborhoods, there were the Kinnaman, the Tivoli, the Crescent, the Gary, the Platte.
The Gary is still there. Gary used to be a vaudeville theater. It's in Inglewood.
Plaza.
Well, the Plaza's there too. That's that weird one in Kensington that supposedly used to be a automobile service station, a mechanic shop that they converted into a movie theater. Yeah, no, that's totally normal.
You know, depending where you lived.
The Capitol and the Palace, Calgary's largest and grandest theaters, opened across the street from each other in 1921. The Capitol had an almost regal ambiance and showed Calgary's first talkies in 1928. The Palace had 1,784 plush, upholstered seats and offered not only silent movies, but the finest traveling vaudeville acts of the day and regular performances of the Calgary Symphony Orchestra. Theaters back then had coat and hat check rooms, uniformed ushers, loge seats down front, often with smoking privileges, and baby rooms in back.
Look at this place. Wow. It's no wonder it had to go. Yeah, it's pretty tough explaining this up here in Cowtown, in Cowboy Land.
I was an usher in the old Crescent Theatre, and the friends used to come in, and this baby room was right at the back, and I had the key to it. And so my friend would come in, and he had his girlfriend. They could go in there to neck, and the glass...
Jeez, what's with these guys?
It was darkened, so you couldn't see from outside. And I used to let my friends in there for special... We never had any babies at 9 o'clock at night going to a movie.
Calgarians...
What is wrong with these dudes? Wow.
Still go to the
Is there something in the water out here?
theater, but not like they used to. The Capitol Theatre was torn down in 1972 and the Palace closed in 1990.
Yeah, the Palace is now a nightclub.
No more loges, no more uniformed ushers. The golden age of theaters is past.
Listen here, Wayland.
Oh, here we go. Getting into another area of legendary sports achievement here from Calgary. Not only the, what was it, 1948 Grey Cup Championship? Okay, sure. I mean, that's pretty good, I guess. Then, of course, the Stampede Rodeo, going on for like 125 plus years. So that's not bad. But then, of course, professional wrestling. That's right. I bet you didn't know that. Professional wrestling. One of the meccas of what eventually would become the WWF/WWE. One of the main territories was right here in Calgary. I know, it's crazy. Howdy, Curtis. Curtis in the box. Hello, hello. Anyway, let's get into this. And there he is, Ed Whalen, the host of, well, it was called Stampede Wrestling, of course. The late, great Ed Whalen.
I don't like you very much, and I don't like the people of Calgary very much.
Now, it may surprise you, and then again it may not surprise you, to learn that one of Calgary's most popular cultural exports is big-time wrestling. Fans in 36 countries around the world just can't get enough of Stampede Wrestling.
In this ring!
It started in 1957 when wrestling promoter Stu Hart made a local TV news director an offer he couldn't refuse.
And from there, I guess there was about 27 years worth of Stampede Wrestling. The least important thing I've ever done, in a sense, journalistically. But you know, over the years, I began to realize how bonding it was for fathers and sons and grandmas and so on. Every Saturday afternoon, and across the country, they'd gather in front of the television set and have a great time together. And that's not too bad. And besides, my approach was I want to turn it into as much comedy as I could find in it, okay? There were serious moments, supposedly, but I said to Stu at the time, if you want me to do a 100% sell job and this is serious and the guy's going to die in the ring, and you got the wrong guy. He said, well, let's try the entertainment angle, the comedy, and let's go. And it worked.
We pick up the action. It's all square on all fees. And Crockett has this place in an absolute...
I can remember my daddy taking me to Stampede Wrestling quite a few times, probably 5, 6, 7 times. Yep, Saturday afternoon. Great time.
Whalen said he was going to be Dr. Whalen, but the broadcasting bug bit him in college and he dropped out. Instead of a career in medicine, Whalen has had a career in television, and he's grateful for the doors it opened for him, even Stampede Wrestling.
Isn't he huge? 7'6", 483 pounds. And he will be the...
Whalen is famous for making "in the meantime" and "in between time" a household phrase, a phrase that he says just came out of his mouth one day.
So if you're American pro wrestling aficionado at all, you'll recognize in there Andre the Giant, Junkyard Dog, Owen Hart, Dynamite Kid.
One night I was thinking, I don't know, I got to the end of the show, okay? It was spontaneous. I said, in the meantime and in between time, that's it, another edition of Stampede Wrestling. Next week I didn't say it. I mean, that had just popped into my head. Phone rang from a lot of fans saying, where's in the meantime and in between time? And I've gained a lot of notoriety, no residuals, despite the fact that it's still apparently in third.
There's the British Bulldogs. Excuse me, British Bulldogs. David Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid. Again, if you're a wrestling aficionado. See here, being a Calgarian such as myself, you almost can't help but absorb it through some kind of cultural osmosis.
36 countries of the world.
Had he been a doctor, Whalen would have helped people smile, but it's hard to imagine any career giving him more opportunities to make people laugh. And that's been good medicine for us all.
Oh, my heavens!
Calgary has the honor of having the longest-running children's show on Canadian television, The Buckshot Show. The host was a quintessential Calgarian, a friendly cowboy in a white hat known as Buckshot, who had a teddy bear sidekick named Benny.
This is Benny.
Just not comfortable here without my pal.
Yeah.
My
okay.
cord.
Feel better now?
Yeah, I'm
all right, relax. Okay.
Now I can relax. That's the bear.
Yep. This is the third one. See, I can't put him on my hand without moving. I'm talking as Jim, but Benny's still moving his mouth. How are you doing that, pal?
The Buckshot Show signed on the air on CFCN in March of 1967. The hosts, Ron Barge and Jim Lewis, had other jobs at the station, but would break every day at noon to do the Buckshot Show. 3 weeks after, the station established a Buckshot fan club. More than 14,000 kids were members.
We had a suggestion box in the middle of the studio, and we said anybody can suggest a name for this character. And some of them I can't repeat, but somebody put the name, the two words Buckshot, Buck as the first name. And
I don't think I ever knew that.
Didn't you?
No, I don't think. I never really knew where that name came from.
While Barge essentially played himself, Lewis made and gave life to more than a half dozen other characters over the years, including Clyde the Owl, Foghorn the Firefly, Woodrow T. Beaver, Rodney the Rodent, and Heathcliff the Dragon.
I remember when I was about maybe 14 years old, I think I built a ventriloquist puppet and played with that for a few months and gave that up as something I wasn't going to do.
I didn't know that.
No, see, learn something every day.
I'm glad we came here.
Anyway, this is the guy we're going to introduce. This is Heathcliff the Dragon. Don't call me an alligator.
No, a lot of them say, where's the alligator? Where's the alligator? He gets upset. We have to go through
Not an alligator, I'm a dragon. My fire's gone out a long time ago, but that doesn't make any difference.
I know the feeling, to lose your fire. Yeah. No.
All of the early Buckshot shows were done live. None of them was ever recorded.
Not really sure what a dragon has to do with cowboys, but I guess they're both old-timey.
If you remember Buckshot, this is an old friend. If you've never heard of Buckshot, this is what you missed.
Speaking of unbelievable things, let's have a big hand for Clyde the Owl.
Quality dogs. The whole show is a quality dog, actually.
Now, this is Woodrow T. Beaver.
Yeah! Howdy, Buckshot.
That's how he welcomes every time.
I'm from the Kananaskis, but I still got an American drawl. I can't figure that out.
Well, it's southern Kananaskis.
Oh, that's what it is.
Southern part of Alberta. So
I'm glad you explained that.
Texas.
This is our last program.
The Buckshot Show was cancelled in 1992, but the characters moved to Saturday mornings to host Tune In. As we taped our interview in the fall of 1997, Tune In had been cancelled too. Buckshot and Benny were off the air after 30 years on Calgary television.
Cousin Benny, that beaver is awesome. Yeah, of course. Gotta have a beaver. It's Canada after all, right? So, but typical, Canadian children's show where the puppeteer has to make his own puppets, and it's 6 or 7 different characters. It's all one guy. He's sort of the Canadian Jim Henson, maybe. I don't know. It's pretty good.
Clyde is sort of the opposite of all owls.
The wise owl and all of this. Well,
not me, man. Who you calling wise?
Clyde doesn't quite make that. We do stories. Clyde doesn't understand a lot of the things that's going on, but he's very lovable and
lovable. You never said that to me before.
Well, I know, but it's kind of an emotional.
Don't
time
try and make up. It's too late. Okay.
After all these years. Clyde is basically the storyteller on our programs. He'd read stories out of books to the little guys.
That's right.
And he sings songs. We do a song all the time. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.
Excuse me? What that again?
Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.
Shouldn't it be Old MacDonald had a farm, F-A-R-M?
No, we're not trying to spell the word farm when we say E-I-E-I-O.
No, it's not the same number of letters, and not even... None of the letters are the same or anything.
This is kind of how Clyde and I...
As you can see, we're snapping into a routine here.
There is no statue or monument to say that Buckshot and Benny were ever here in Calgary. But all the grown members of their fan club are perhaps a better legacy anyway. If a cowboy and a bear can get along, maybe the rest of us can too.
As I run across the tater patch to see if my whole hen had hatched, she jumped up singing and sang 16 chickens and a tambourine. 16 chickens and a tambourine, sing true rock, root-da-day, funniest sight I ever seen. 16 chickens and tambourine.
I don't even know if I'm going to get a copyright for this goofy song or not. Lord have mercy. 16 chickens and a tambourine.
All great cities build monuments to the people who, or the events which, define them. In Calgary, it was neither a person nor an event which made the city what it is today, but a reptile. Meet Dinny, the mascot of the Calgary Zoo, and the secret behind Calgary's success. Many Calgary youngsters remember sitting on Dinny's tail and climbing up his back. Built from scrap metal and concrete in 1937, Dinny the dinosaur reminds us of the many giant creatures like him who, in life, roamed the Great Plains of Alberta millions of years ago. And
Yes, the other claim to fame for Southern Alberta and for Calgary, but Southern Alberta in general are they're dead dinosaur bones everywhere. So maybe the dragon on the Buckshot Show is supposed to be a dinosaur? Maybe the dinosaurs were dragons.
Death became one of the largest oil and natural gas fields in the world. Jim Gray remembers those heady days of the 1970s, when the only word to describe the Calgary skyline and the price of oil was up.
Well, the 70s were a time of huge growth in this province. The word used to be, hey, I wonder what this city is going to be like when they get it unpacked. Because there were cranes all over. People were doing silly things because you could make decisions that weren't commercial decisions, weren't technical decisions, but you get bailed out with higher prices.
But
yeah, there was cranes everywhere building new buildings, but of course they were knocking down, and still are, knocking down tons of old buildings.
it was at that point in the early 80s, I believe it was, that there were 36 construction cranes in the downtown area, indicating 36 huge buildings going up, and the construction crane became known as the Calgary Bird. You know, and it fit.
People who have only known Calgary as a city will never know what Calgary was like as a town. Not that long ago, Calgary had no skyline to speak of, and the phrase cowtown really fit. Vernetta Anderson remembers milk was still delivered by horse cart downtown When she moved here in 1952,
1952, you were getting your milk delivered by horse-drawn milk cart. 1952.
Anne remembers looking at a house for sale in Montgomery that didn't have any indoor plumbing.
And we looked through all the house, and the fellow opened the door to the bathroom, said, "This is the bathroom." And there was this can sitting there, a big can with the seat on like a toilet, but I could see there was no plumbing. And I said, "Well, what about the plumbing?" He says, "Well, there isn't any. There's a wagon that comes through."
So you get your milk delivered by a wagon, and you get your doo-doo hauled away by a wagon. Wow.
So that was a rude awakening.
I remember the days when I was a youngster with a paper route in Calgary with about maybe 40 newspapers to deliver. It covered a vast area of Hillhurst to get rid of my 40 papers.
Hillhurst is what's part of what is commonly known as Kensington. Done a lot of boots poking around in there as well. Boots on the ground videos. Very interesting neighborhood.
Now, of course, the city goes miles beyond where that paper route was.
In 1977, the Husky Tower, now called the Calgary Tower, was a landmark on the city's skyline. Today, even taller landmarks cast their shadows across it. The oil boom not only caused Calgary to grow up, but out. The community of Windsor Park was annexed in 1951, the Meadows in 1952, Meadowlark Park in 1954, Forest Lawn in 1961, Montgomery in 1963, and Bowness in 1964. In the next few years, more than 50,000 new housing units will spring up across the city, half again as many as were built 10 years ago. A child born in Calgary today can expect to be one of 1.4 million people here by the time he or she graduates from university.
It doesn't get much better than today, and that's good and that's scary. It's good in that in the good days you got to put the seed corn away, and you've got to have the good years to carry you through the whole cycle. It's a little scary because a number of people haven't experienced the difficult periods, and so when I hear them, and I hear them from time to time say, "Well, it's good this time," and we say yes, but it's a cyclical business, and they say, no, it's different this time. Well, when I hear that, I always get a little worried, because characteristically our businesses are cyclical. And so while it is good now, and we should be nevertheless disciplined to expect and prepare ourselves for the rainy days.
Alberta's dinosaur legacy is still honored at the Calgary Zoo, where the suspension bridge takes you back in time to when dinosaurs roamed the prairies of Alberta. Dinny remains as the last surviving dinosaur from the zoo's original prehistoric park. He was declared an Alberta Historical Resource and fenced off in 1987.
Yeah, back in the day, you could like climb all over this thing and get your photo taken standing underneath it. And kinds of goofy shenanigans. You know, to help to push the dead dinosaurs make all them oils that they're pumping out of the ground here in Alberta story thing. I guess.
Saplings planted near him have now grown strong and tall, as has the city on the plains. People from around the world were Alberta-bound in February of 1988 for the 15th Olympic Winter Games. It was a chance for Calgary to show the rest of Canada and the entire world just what it could do. Calgary had asked to host the Winter Olympic Games 3 times before. In 1981, the 4th time did it. Back in 1981, Calgary was just beginning to feel the squeeze of a recession. This, and the fact that no Olympic Winter Games had ever turned a profit, brought the rare Calgary pessimists out in force. Bill Pratt was president of the Calgary Games.
Oh. So just like old Guy Wiedeck trying to kick off the Calgary Stampede and exhibition and rodeo and all that shenanigans, You know, the first few times didn't quite take, but through tenacity and daggum good old determination, well, now it's the greatest outdoor show on earth. And I guess the same thing with getting the Winter Olympics here. You know, they'd failed not once, not twice, but thrice. Fourth time's a charm. Never heard that expression before. I thought it was third time's a charm. But anyway, finally get the Olympics here. After trying since 81? Sheesh. Tenacity.
Well, about 82% said we're going to have a ball. 18% said we can't do it. So what's the worry, okay? And there was always that, could we do it, couldn't we do it, can we do it, can't we do it? You know, there was always that. That was always with us. What kind of show would we what bunch of cowboys from Alberta put on, you know? And we surprised them.
Borrowing a page from his experience at the Stampede, Pratt decided to staff the Olympics primarily with volunteers. Not just a few, but more than 10,000 of them, the largest army of volunteers ever assembled in Alberta. Ed Roberts was one of them.
After he had asked me if I would chair this ceremonies committee, and before I had a chance to think about it, I agreed that I would. And later on, Bill was explaining to me that these opening ceremonies have got to set the tone for this whole thing. It's got to get off to a spectacular start. And if it's a flop, Eddie, you better be on the first plane out of town. And if you turn around, I'll be in the seat behind you.
Yeah. That's how you get business done in the Wild West, through threats. You don't get this thing going and it doesn't get off the ground, you better be on the first plane or train or horse out of town, buddy.
That's Bill's way of encouraging you to get on with the job.
The opening ceremonies showed Canadian pride and Calgary hospitality at their best. The parade of athletes included the flags of 59 countries, an Olympic record. The torch was lit by the youngest person ever to do so, an 11-year-old girl by the name of Robin Perry.
Anyway, we're right getting to the dramatic moment here, and things have to happen right on time, and on comes the intercom system. We can't find Robin.
Hugh Dunn produced the Olympic ceremonies and remembers the moment of panic when he heard the torch girl was missing.
We don't know where she is, and of course the question is, go get her. That's the answer, just solve this problem. But you can imagine, 5 minutes when we're building up to the entrance of this thing, and she's to take the torch. Where is she? I don't know.
Right before I was supposed to come out, I left and went to the washroom. So I was actually late. Well, because we didn't know. I think
this whole story is a cockamamie, made up, goofy story for, I don't know, for whatever reason. Just to give this a quaint, cutesy little story. I mean, if she's 11 and she's the one that's going to take the torch and light the Olympic flame in the stadium, and she can just wander off by herself to go take a tinkle, I don't know.
Well, that's just silly. Silly, yes. Idiotic, yes.
Isn't there somebody around keeping an eye on this kid? There's no kind of security or anything either, by the way. This is the Olympic flame and whatnot, right? So people could just wander off. There's no handlers. There's no security. There's no checkpoints. There's no, hey, you, are you supposed to be back here? Where's your pass? You got your pass? Your pass is supposed to be visible at all times, mister. None of that? No? Okay.
how was I supposed to know? So they're running up and down the hallways just looking for me.
Nobody. The first thing I would have checked is she throwing up in the bathroom because she's nervous? Torch girl's missing. She's probably barfing in the can. Can somebody please go check? If she's not there, then you panic. Then you run up and down the halls.
Robin was on her mark, on time, and no one watching the opening ceremonies that day had any idea of the backstage panic that had just occurred before the torch was passed to the final runner.
And I turned around and ran up the stairs. I do remember I was running up the stairs, and there was I think he was on the Russian team, and he stood out and he was taking pictures. As I'm running up the stairs, I just remember saying, "Move!" And I think I put my hand out because I had to go up that side, and he was standing right in the way, so I just told him to move. That's about it.
Just who would make the final torch run was the biggest secret of the games. Robin, a 7th grader at the time, had been practicing to skate in the opening and closing ceremonies.
That's right, Vinny. cousin Vinny Vincent says this is what passes for drama up here in Canada. Yeah. Oh my God, the torch girl's missing. Oh, there she is. She was having a tinkle. It's okay. It's okay, everybody. Sheesh. Stephanie Fox in the box. Hello. Stephanie says they watched the anthem singer at a minor league ball game more than that. Yeah, that's right. Oh, wow. Ridiculous.
A week before the games began, her parents told her she would be doing one more thing.
When she came home from skating that night, he brought out a ball-peen hammer. We're in a two-story, oh, really? We're in a two-story house, if only the world knew. And we said, "Robin, take this and run up and down the steps." So she said,
yeah.
We said, "Well, go again." And I said, "How does that feel? Is that heavy?" Or it was about a 5-pound ball peen. She said, "No, it's okay." And we said, "Well, we've got to tell you something."
And they're just bubbling with excitement, and I just thought they were idiots. Like, how often do your parents stand at the bottom of the stairs looking proud as punch while you're running up and down the stairs with a sledgehammer? It's just, I thought they were off the wall. Couldn't understand it at all. And then they both just sat down, and they were all excited and happy, and they told me.
Sure it was again, I don't mean to, I'm sure it was a very proud moment and a great event and all that. And I remember I was living here in the city when the Olympics were going on. I remember there was just a lot of traffic and a lot of noise and a lot of hullabaloo, but sure, it was pretty cool, I guess. Whatever, it was all right. But I think this whole cockamamie story, I don't know. I'm just gonna call it
shenanigans.
Anyway, just a few minutes left in this thing anyway, so let's wrap her up.
15th Olympic Winter Games in Calgary contributed more than $1.4 billion to the Canadian economy, and for the first time in history, an Olympic Winter Games turned a profit, more than $27 million. Canada Olympic Park, among other sites in town, remains a tangible legacy to the games that were held here. Tomorrow's Olympians train where yesterday's Olympians are remembered. Calgary had so much fun with the 1988 Games that it has bid for them again in 2010 and passed the torch to a new generation.
Oh, we knew it was going to happen all along. We knew it was going to be the best ever. What are you talking about? In Calgary, the impossible takes just a little longer. That's all.
Calgary's always been an optimistic city. There's always been good times ahead. In another 50 years or so, there'll probably be 1 million people living in the city, and there'll be that many more stories to tell. I'm James Keelhan, and I'd like to thank you for sharing in this time with us.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think it's over 1.5 million now, so. Yeah, you shorted it, buddy. You shorted.
And thank you for being a part of what Calgary remembered. Take care.
So there you go. There it is. Calgary remembered. So what'd you think of that? Now, admittedly, I have watched it, but just kind of casually as I was editing, because I did chop it up so that we have a little bit of a break or an intermission, excuse me, if you will. Oh, for sure. With a guy with a neck like that, he's gonna have a ponytail. Oh, wow. So there you go. I think I'm getting ready to wind this thing down here very shortly. But before I do, I've got, we like to have a little bit of fun around here. We like to kind of goof around a little bit.
You know what I mean? All right, we're having a good time.
So I've got some videos that some fine folks sent me. I think Kathy, the notorious Kathy Broughton, sent these my way, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that here. Because, yeah, I'm pretty sure both of these. This first one's just a quick one, like 10 seconds long. But it's funny. At least I think it's funny.
I'm a country boy, got a four-wheel drive. Climb in my bed, I'll take you.
So there you go. It's country boy, cowboy, right there. That's absolutely ridiculous. Oh, you know that for sure, Vaughn. Vaughn says Calgary sure does have a narrative. Yeah. Well, we got the rodeo, we got dinosaurs, we got the oil, we had the Dominion exhibition and fair. We got the cowboys and the Indians, the buffalo, you name it, man. All those shenanigans. It's like I said, a lot of this to me just seems rubber stamped, but that's just me. What's this other one here? I think Kathy sent this one as well. Yeah, this one's pretty good.
After all these years of marriage, I ain't ever been with her to the female doctor until yesterday. I thought she had been saying she was going to get a Pabst beer. And I was like, well, shit, drink it up, baby. Pabst Blue Ribbon, that's what I thought. And I thought when she said menopause, she was giving me a break. A menopause. Get the menopause. A break. Well, shit, no, that's not what goes on. We went up there and she put her feet up in that thing and he pulled out some damn needle nose pliers that long and rooted around down in there. I thought I was going to have to fist fight the son of a bitch after I passed out and came back to. I went out. I needed a Pabst beer after that. Lord have mercy. I said, damn, baby, you are tough as nails after going through that. No way I'd have that shit done to me. No. That son gonna look painful. I ain't ever doing that shit. Oh, my Lord. Have mercy.
Yeah, a Pabst beer. A Pabst beer. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, enough screwing around here before I go finally here. A little while back, I made mention of a project I'm working on called Reset 1700. It's kind of my theory about what happened here locally as a local catastrophe and a changing of the narrative and the timeline, sort of in southwestern British Columbia and Alberta, and then in the Pacific Northwest of the United States of America. So that project is due this summer. So keep your ocular sphericals locked onto the channel here. For the notifications that don't work for when that comes up. But I will be releasing probably in a month-ish, month and a half-ish time, a full trailer. But I've got a little teaser here for you. So I'll play that and then we'll wind it down for the evening. What do you say? So yes, this is the official teaser for Reset 1700. All right, so there you go. Just a little sneak peek of what's going to be coming up in the summer for the channel. It's going to be a full-length feature, sort of a format initially, and I will put it up as a premiere so that we can all sit and watch it together and have a chat going, kind of, on the box, going on the side. And then after that initial premiere, I'll probably put it up as a sort of a series, a 4-part series, so that it's, in smaller pieces, more digestible, smaller pieces in sort of 4 chapters, if you will. Kind of, maybe 3. Maybe I'll do like Star Wars and do 3. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. So yeah, there you go. And with that, I think that is going to seal the deal here tonight for Frankie, New West Reset and New West Reset Live. Episode 107, Calgary Remembered. We had a little watch party here of a PBS broadcast from 1998. Again, links for everything below. BitChute, MeWe, email, Rumble, PayPal, my location map. Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, as well as a link to the full video, unedited PBS video. So once again, thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate all your support. Again, if you're watching this after the fact, really appreciate all of you as well. So till the next one, take care out there, everybody, and have yourselves a good one. All right? Thanks a lot. Cheers.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.